This is the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom show, The Wake Up Call on WCOM LP, Chapel Hill and Carrboro, 103.5 on your FM dial, or live streaming at WCOMFM.org. You can also watch the show on the People's Channel after a week's delay on Thursday night at 10 p.m., Friday morning at 6 a.m., or Tuesday at noon. The show will also be available on our YouTube channel, Wilf Wake Up Call. I'm Ear Schwinzer here with our host, Lori Hoyt, and Emily O'Hare on the camera. Today, our special guests are Bernard Obie and Michael Konvicka.
For sharing mics. Thank you, Iris. So we're delighted to have two members of the Durham Farmers Market. We're here in Carrboro. We're very proud of our farmers market, but we're also happy to celebrate farmers markets all over the state and world. And this is Durham's that we're celebrating, which is having its 20th anniversary. Yes, which is very exciting. So we have with us Bernard Obie, who is an organic farmer in Roxborough, and Mike Konvicka, who is very interesting. He has a company called Terra Clotha and hand dyes fabric.
Yes, t-shirts and clothing and such, yes.
Yeah, and so maybe since we're not as used to that, why don't we start off a little bit about that, because I'm really interested. I understand that you use a technique known as vat dyeing.
Yeah, and when people look at my clothes, they'll say, well, it's tie-dyed, and it kind of looks tie-dyed.
Because it says it collects in the folds.
That's right, that's right. I'm not actually tying it, I'm just dyeing it. But I'm, crumpling it up, throwing it in the vat, leaving it for a couple of hours, and coming back and seeing what I got.
Wow. So that gives it says in this little blurb, I have a variegated design.
That's what I'm going for.
So it sounds like you like to just keep it simple and easy.
Yes.
Well, no, it sounds like fun. So you just crumple it up, throw it in, and
There's some washing and such eventually. But yeah.
So yes, because it goes on to say that you decorated in your studio either by sewing on an applique or by silk screening an original design.
That's right.
So how do you do that? How do you?
Well, the shirt I have on right now, for example, silk screen is basically, and it's pretty much almost every t-shirt you've ever seen where there's a design, someone has put silk screen ink in the design, and kind of like painting it on, kind of like stenciling.
Okay.
Applique is cutting out an extra piece of cloth and attaching it.
And attaching it.
Yes.
I sort of knew what it was, but so the extra piece of cloth could be the same kind of material or something different.
Right. I do same and different, and it just sort of depends on what design I'm going for and what I'm trying to do. And I also do some batiking, which is basically throwing wax, putting wax onto the clothing, and then dyeing it, and then you boil the wax off, and then where the wax was is a design.
And is that t-shirt an example of the variegated colors? It
Yes,
looks like it is?
Yes, it is.
That's beautiful, some purple. For those who are just listening to the radio and won't get to see us on the People's Channel next week or on YouTube, which we now are, can see that it's got some beautiful orange and purplish colors, and looks very pretty. The patterns very, very with nature. You're almost like you're seeing leaves and whatever you want to. It's like a Rorschach test, whatever you want to see in it. And there is a really nice silk screen Durham cityscape design. Very nice.
Thanks.
A nice example of your work. And then Bernard Obie, you have this farm in Roxborough. You're about 40 miles from here, right?
That's right.
Pretty fun. It's a beautiful drive to go out there north of here. Yeah, you can just head right on out 86 and go through Hillsborough and just keep going through gorgeous country.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
So this farm, it says you're a fifth generation farmer. Is this a farm that your families have?
That's right.
So this farm is a fifth generation farm as well as you being a fifth generation farmer.
That's right.
So I guess you've been all taking good care of this land.
For the most part, that's true. Lately, it's definitely true. We went through a period, like so many others, where chemicals were a part of the mix. You may remember that for a time, perhaps it still is, that was the advice from the agricultural specialists at the universities and so on, the one I attended included. And so, in my view, that was not the best period for taking care of the land, but we came to our senses at some point and reverted back to the old ways of my grandfathers and great-grandfathers.
Yes, yeah, and unfortunately not everybody's giving up those chemical ways, but there's a vanguard of people. So you have now, it's become an organic farm. But that takes a lot. You've got to, how you have to have the soil chemical free for what, 3 years is it?
3 years before you can apply for and receive a certification as being organic.
Yeah.
So we didn't have any problem meeting that. You know, our land had been fallow since 1985.
Oh, really?
When my father died at that point, and that's what brought me back to North Carolina, and within a couple of years back to the farm to try to save it from returning to forest. But when we applied for organic certification in 2007, we had that space in between. It was fallow and nothing had been added to the land, and indeed nothing had been grown on it for all that period. So the first stage was to reclaim it from nature. We were about half successful. Half of the open fields that we'd formerly tended, growing tobacco and corn and wheat and such, had returned to forest to a point where the effort to reclaim it would have been just too great, too expensive. We were successful in saving about half of that. So,
well, why to reclaim it? Is it that there's like big weeds growing up in it, or little trees? What? Trees,
yeah.
Trees.
Yeah, within 3 or 4 years, if you don't intervene, then the trees will reach a size where you have to use heavy equipment to clear the land, depending on the land and the type of trees and so on. But certainly within 5 or 6 years.
Can you use pigs? Aren't they great at rooting them up?
Yes, but if you trying to do that for 10,000 trees,
you need a lot of pigs, huh?
Yeah, you'd need a lot of pigs, and then you'd need a lot of fencing, and then so you'd have to control them. Yeah.
Everything when you want to do things, nothing's cheap.
Not anymore, no.
Not anymore.
But it's worth it on some scale.
So how many acres do you have you reclaimed?
About 20 acres is, like farmable, meaning, most of it is in trees now. We have just under 100 acres. The farm was about 150 acres, and the lake came in and took a big chunk of it. And
Which lake?
Mayo Lake. Lake Mayo. Beautiful lake, worth coming to see, I must say.
Okay.
They didn't allow, the development and so on around the lake as they have in some. It's still natural, it's scenic, it's beautiful, and it's still pretty clean, which is something that cannot be said for many. But that was, one of those, where they just basically said, look, we need this land, and that's kind of the end of the conversation.
So that's sort of eminent domain, do they?
Yes. So
I hope they pay a little bit for you.
They did pay a little bit, then turned around and resold it to others, some of it that they didn't use for quite a bit more. So
A little chicanery there, but...
we're not lamenting about that, and we're not dwelling in the past. We're trying to make the most of what we have left.
Well, what a good attitude. What a good attitude. So it says something in this little bio I have that you do some no-tilling.
That's right.
No-till approach on remineralized, naturally enriched soil. What does that mean?
Well, soil is a living thing, and the gist of why we do what we do is that, you know, the plants can't have what the soil doesn't give, and what it doesn't manufacture, in concert with the sun and the water and the air, the natural resources that surround it.
Mm-hmm.
The soil is the critical piece, though, and our soil was really quite depleted from all the years of chemical use, trying to force it, bend it to our will and our budgets. And what we were wanting to do was to rebuild the soil, to re-establish the mineral content in the soil.
Make it a nourishing soil.
To make it nourishing. And a big part of that with clay soil, which is a lot of what we have, the heavy red clay, beautiful clay, but it's temperamental. But the fundamental thing is that it needs a fair amount of organic matter. So that was a big part of the reconditioning of the soil. Our goal was to grow plants that were strong, because strong plants nourish people, and people who are properly well nourished, stay healthier. They have healthier children. They have, a more balanced, sort of homeostatic way of proceeding through life, and that to us is really important. That's why, we go to the extra effort. We're, interested in, being servants of, the well-being of the people who come to us for food, who trust their families with us for food. That's why the Durham Farmers Market is so important, because there are farmers there with similar commitments. Not just farmers, though, crafters, as you've been talking with Mike. It puts a certain special something in what people buy to take home to their families that I won't say you can't get in the big commercial, operations, but I think it's harder to get. And certainly, when you think about it, why people spend their hard-earned money and, take the time to come and to be a part of a Durham Farmers Market scene, it has to be something that has value for them above and beyond saving a few dollars or the comfort and convenience of a big box store. And that's what we're really working hard, each of us individually, but collectively, to establish and create and to fulfill every week.
It sounds like you're very proud of the Durham Farmers Market.
Oh, yes.
You might.
If I could jump in.
Anytime.
What I'd like to think is that the farmers market coming to the pavilion in Central Park, Durham, which is basically near the old ballpark in downtown.
Yeah, I've been there.
And so
Yay.
2007 is when the pavilion opened and the market moved from a parking lot up the hill down into the pavilion. That's when Durham took off. I mean, I'm not saying it's because of the Durham Farmers Market, though I'm thinking it. But so in that 12 years or so, we've become a go-to place in downtown Durham on Saturday mornings and Wednesday afternoons. And Durham has become a go-to place. The buildings around our market have just shot up. The buildings in downtown Durham have shot up. A lot of people are living in downtown Durham that didn't. It used to be a ghost town, not the sort of place you wanted to go. Now people do want to go there. I won't say, like I said, it's not because of the farmers market.
But that's certainly one of the reasons, and it's certainly an important reason, because that to a lot of people means that this is the kind of place you want to live. It just bespokes a kind of progressive attitude, and just like the arts, I think the arts are a great draw. Farmers markets are a great draw, particularly for people who are interested in good and healthy food, and more people are. And also some also creative things that are not just mass-produced in big box stores, whether it's food or clothing.
But we know that they know that, the people who are developing downtown, because they've used the farmers market in their advertising, to draw people to the projects that that are still under development. They recognize it. I'm sure it's based on some, very sophisticated research, but we know it from our day-to-day experience, and we're just really happy to be a part of it. So Mike was talking about the farmers market and the pavilion, and certainly that was the, sort of the go button to, really make it stand out and become more real and a more pleasant experience for people. But this is our 20th anniversary, woohoo, that we're celebrating. So it didn't start there. It actually started a much more humble way, with just a handful of vendors back in 1999. And I guess the first place where folks really sat up, there were a number of small pockets of sort of pop-up markets, if I can call them that, around downtown Durham, and I'm sure in other parts surrounding, maybe here in Carver, although y'all already had a vibrant market going. But what became the Durham Farmers Market started at the old Durham ballpark, and people would go there. I think we started with 11 vendors, and one of the original vendors was the organization, the Community Garden Seeds, of which I am a huge fan.
Yeah.
I worked there for a time, and it may have been the best work I've ever done in all these decades.
Well, tell our listeners, I've heard about seeds in the past, but and a lot of people won't know what we're talking about. Tell them what the seeds program was, which is wonderful.
Yeah, it's a community garden that offers a number of different programs aimed mostly at the youth, the young people. The program that I worked for was the DIG program, Durham Inner City Gardeners. Young people, teenagers who were taught to grow food and all that goes along with that, and then the merchandising aspect of it. So part of how it was a paid positions for the young people who were selected. They went through an interview process and all of that. But for those who were selected, they, from the very beginning, some of them having no experience in the garden, some barely having outside experience, they were taught everything about how to grow food, how to care for it and nurture it and turn it into a product that had consumer appeal, and then how to harvest it, package it, merchandise it, take it to the farmers market and sell it. And that was part of how they paid for the compensation that the young people received to entice them to be into the program. I can tell you from personal experience that it changed lives. They had a DIG program, they had a seedlings program, which was involved with much younger children, as you might imagine, but a wonderful program in my experience, and so many young people have come through there, some that I had the privilege of working with directly, that I still have relationships and friendships with. But Seeds was one of the leaders in establishing the Durham Farmers Market in those early days, and we're so glad that they're still part of the market, still on mission.
I was just going to say, are they still there?
They're still there,
Okay.
still on mission, and what they need, like all volunteer organizations, they need people to come and share their time, their energy, their insights, to give back to the community, help these young people to grow and feel loved, and to help find their way, their footing in life.
Yeah,
So,
and teach them those survival skills that we are going to need more and more of. If we're facing not just climate change, but we're now facing a climate crisis.
Yeah.
And I think we're all going to need to rely on some of those what's considered old-timey basic skills, how to do things for ourselves instead of just thinking we can hop in a fossil fuel vehicle and go to some place that's got it all done for us. We're gonna have to learn how to grow, a lot of people are gonna have to learn how to grow some food, sew some clothes, be more handy at.
Or support people who do.
And so,
You
yeah.
know, come to the markets here in Carver and in Durham.
Yeah.
The story in Durham goes on. Mike, don't let me say too much, but 2002, you know, moved from the Durham ballpark because, as you can imagine, you know, that was before the new ballpark was built, and so that venue had, you know, demands on it, and sometimes the market couldn't meet there if they wanted to do certain things at different times, and so Measurements Inc. was a company that allowed the Durham Farmers Market to use its parking lot to set up, and it was there until, as Mike said, you know, we had the pavilion was built and got to move there as I hope a permanent home for the market, and you know, things really sort of took off. But it was those early years where, you know, there wasn't a lot of cachet, there wasn't a lot of recognition. It was really before the big boom happened that you know, those folks pioneering there, and frankly, with the help of people here in the Scarborough market, you know, sharing their, you know, rules and bylaws and the ways that things were set up that worked for them, that really helped it to get on a very firm footing organizationally.
The farmers market here in Nearest will maybe know as much as, or more maybe, than I do, but it started out in a parking lot, much smaller, of course, and because it does meet a need, and because people are getting more interested and paying more attention to the whole thing about chemicals and food, etc., it started growing, and then it was over, you know, where it is now. But they didn't have the pavilion, they didn't have the protection with the roof from the sort of pavilion type thing. And Ellie Kinnaird was our mayor, and she was one of the ones who pushed to have some structures put up that could make it more appealing. You didn't have to have everybody under a tent or with protecting themselves from the sun that way. And so, just like you all grew, you start small, and it catches on, and people love it, and then it grows and thrives. And so we're probably a little bit ahead of you. I'm not sure how ours is, maybe 30 years old, or is it more than that? You're not sure either, but it's at least maybe 30, maybe more. I'm so old I can't remember, but I know I was here when it started. But so you're just a little behind us in terms of years, but it sounds like you're thriving and coming along. And so, have you both been with it from the beginning?
I was not, no.
No, I came in 2006 when we were still up in the parking lot.
Okay.
And so, I mean, that was kind of a challenge because it's not, that particular lot is not particularly level, which when you're looking at it, it doesn't really, it's hard to tell. But when you're setting up a tent there, you do know.
How uneven the ground was.
Yeah, and also we were using portable toilets, which is kind of a challenge when you have a large group of people. The great thing about our pavilion is that we have a permanent place, and the toilets are not temporary.
They're quite nice, yes. That's important,
Yeah.
So you came in 2007?
2006 for me.
2006?
2007 for me.
So you both got joining at about the same time. So you were coming from Roxborough, and what brought you to Durham? Where were you from originally?
I'm originally from the Midwest, but I spent most of my time growing up in Louisiana. Just came because it seemed like time to come. It was the place to be.
Well, you know, many of us are transplants. I came in the 60s with my former husband, who was with a new person with IBM, and they had just opened up at the Research Triangle. So we were one of that first wave, and it was hard times in Durham then. It was pretty segregated. It was pretty rough. And you're right, the downtown was like a ghost town. It was very scary. It was totally deserted around 5 o'clock when you had to drive past it to go anywhere. Very, very eerie. And it's such a difference today. Durham is such a thriving, exciting place. You know, I really am impressed. And it sounds, well, I think where your location is, I've not been to your farmer's market, but I've been at that location for protests and other things. And it seems to me you're right on the edge of with the very affluent part of downtown, but right on the edge of also getting into poorer or more middle-class neighborhoods where it seems to me that you're right convenient for the diversity that Durham does offer.
It's a nice nexus. The, you know, with the development that's happening literally right on the edge of the farmer's market, it really creates almost like an amphitheater kind of an effect.
Yeah.
Lots of people are there. But not just because of the Durham Farmers Market. I may as well give a shout out to the food truck rodeo. We were a little ambivalent about that in the beginning, but they've been nothing but a plus for bringing people down to that area. The arts market is also right there, and you can find practically, I mean, anything from birdhouses to ceramics to clothing to, I can't even name all of it, jewelry.
So there's an arts market.
There's an arts market. It's an organized market right there on the fringe of the Durham Farmers Market. So there is a collection of people every Saturday, thousands of folks coming for different reasons. A lot of them are coming for the food, frankly, not just at the food trucks, but the foods that is offered at the market, coffee and all of the things that go with the breakfast type of appetite. And so lots of folks, and you already know, we have, with beer, and we have, Honey Girl, and we have, goodness, we have kombucha. Goodness, Mike, help me out.
Kimchi.
Yes.
Kimchi.
A lot of
So
artisan foods.
let me get this pictured. So you have the farmer's market, and right next to it, or almost adjacent to it, is an arts market, and then also these food trucks.
Right. So there's the Durham Craft Market on
That's what
one
it's
side,
called. Thank
and
you.
then there's a food truck area, and then there is an arts market on the other side. And it really, if you're down there, it's hard to tell the difference. There's no actual delineation between them. They all kind of run together. But yeah, there is a whole lot going on, which is why so many people come down to downtown Durham between 8 a.m. and noon during the warm parts of the year, and on Saturdays 10 o'clock to noon. December until March.
And it's magical. We have music, sometimes several different varieties of music all happening at the same time.
I think you're surpassing us. That sounds pretty exciting.
Well, you have to come and see for yourself.
We'll
And
have
we
to
want to
come. We'll have to
invite
come.
everyone to come and
Yeah.
just see just the rich, just the variety.
Yeah, you're making
of
it
what's
very
there.
enticing. I think it's time for we're going to take a station break. You can catch your breath. Think about what you wish you had remembered to say when you leave.
This is Will's Wake Up Call on WCOMLP, Chapel Hill and Carver, 103.5 FM. You can stream us live at WCOMFM.org.
Okay, does anybody know, I don't know of any announcements. I think Tuesdays for Tillis still goes on, a protest that a group of people go every Tuesday morning to rally outside Tillis's office and protest. So there are things happening, but things do get a little slower in the summer. The we're starting in the month of August. I think that, I think some organizations take a break, but you thinking of something you're gonna pass to me? Or I'll pass it to you? Oh, I knew there was a big thing. I was stumbling around here. Thank you. August 6th, we celebrate Hiroshima and Nagasaki Day. And we're gonna have a program at the library, and I think it's in the evening at 6. She's gonna look it up. I should have written it down. We celebrate every year.
6:30.
6:30 at the Chapel Hill Library. We used to do it outside outside the old post office on Franklin Street is what we call Peace and Justice Plaza. And we've got, years ago, they named it that because of some of the civil rights and staunch activists who were out there year after year. So they put their names in the concrete and it got renamed Peace and Justice Plaza. So we're quite happy about that. And that's kind of the place where a lot of protests are held. So we used to be outside to not celebrate but commemorate the nuclear bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. But the weather's gotten hotter, and so we are finding that we do get much better turnout as the weather's gotten so hot to have it at the library. And we usually have some kind of either a video or I think we're gonna have somebody give a talk. And but that's about it. So I'll get back to our guests. We're talking, and I'm always reminded I should mention people's names throughout the show more. So somebody tunes in the middle, they don't know who is talking, and they get curious and get frustrated that I don't say the name more often. We're talking to Bernard Obie, who has a Bonnetu organic farm in Roxborough, and also Mike Konvicka, who is, he has Terra Clotha, a little company, does hand-dyed clothes, and uses vat dyeing, which makes a very interesting variegated pattern. So they are both here to help us and to let us know about the wonders of the Durham Farmers Market, which is celebrating its 20th anniversary. And was the anniversary, has it been the big shindig, has that already passed?
Well, we didn't have a big celebration. We had a small commemorative event on the market of the July 4th weekend.
Okay.
So I thought it should have been bigger, but it's still not too late for all of our market supporters and board members whom I hope are listening. It's still not too late to do the right thing and celebrate
have a real
this.
big shindig for it.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think it's important to do that.
But it sounds like, from what you're describing, that Saturday mornings is a shindig.
It is a celebration.
It sounds like every Saturday morning, it sounds like a huge celebration.
You have to come and really experience it to get the full effect, and I think it really is wonderful. That's what makes it worth celebrating, because it is bringing people together across all the boundaries, and that's not easy to do sometimes.
No.
And then have them, to go away, back home or wherever. Some people come all the way from Raleigh, believe it or not, they do this weekly, to shop at the Durham Farmers Market, and that's not the only place that they come from. I won't mention all the towns. I don't want to get a bunch of towns mad at me, but people travel to come to the Durham Market, and it's to understand why you have to come and see. But may I mention something that's really important? Speaking of people coming together, there's a knock against some of the farmers markets, saying that, they're really kind of elitist, and that, really sort of classist in a way, that only the wealthy can afford to shop there. And that's been something that we've been sensitive to work to make sure that that's not the case. So, the Durham Farmers Market has been a leader in markets in the state to implement a double bucks program. And what that means is that when you come to the market, you purchase tokens, usually, it's up to $10, and you can get double the spendable dollars at the market for approved items for folks who qualify. These are people who are part of the SNAP, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, to try to get more of those folks to come and take advantage of the fresh produce and all of the things that are available at the market. I didn't even mention meats, but we have fish at the market. We have chicken. I know at one point we've had rabbit. We've had turkeys, at least seasonally. And so I'm vegetarian. I'm not even sure of all the different meats, but I know we have a wide variety pork. I should never forget about pork and beef, but they're part of it as well. The point that I want to make about the SNAP program now is that there has been a $10 limit that you could get double bucks for, but now in Durham, at the Durham Farmers Market, there is no limit on the number of bucks that you can get double bucks for, and that fits more for people because you can't buy a lot anywhere for $20, especially if you're trying to feed a family. And we have taken that limit off so that people can, take full advantage of all that the market has to offer for the items that qualify. And so we want to invite folks who are on the SNAP programs, please come down to the Durham market and take advantage of our Double Bucks program. We've had some terrific sponsors. I won't try to name them because I'll leave someone out and offend someone, but our main sponsor, well, I won't do it, but we'll tell you privately if you come. But we've got such enthusiastic sponsors that we've been able to take that limit off to allow people to really take full advantage of that for their families.
And that is so important because a lot of times people think, I can't afford organic, I can't afford fresh things, but a lot of times it's not, especially if you buy in season. If you're gonna buy the fruits and vegetables when they're in season, a lot of times it's not so terribly expensive as some people might think. They had something similar to that at the one here, but I'm not sure if they have it all the time or just every once in a while. I'm gonna try to ask about that. Yeah, they should, and I know that,
sure they
and they maybe do.
And may I just add to that by saying that we're in the process right now of working out a deal with a major sponsor, whose name I won't mention. They'll get plenty of buzz when this is done, but where every farmer's market who has a Double Bucks program for the SNAP recipients across the state of North Carolina will benefit. It will be a statewide program.
Wow.
And it's a big deal, but I won't, I'll allow the folks who are, more directly responsible for putting it together and so on, break that news at the time. But just know that the program is far from ending. In fact, it's picking up speed and importance in the minds of a lot of people across the state. And we're really happy about that. We want to see more SNAP recipients at the market. Please come, you'll be welcome, and you'll get double the bucks, double the spending power for your dollars.
You can't beat that. And Mike, so do you sell your clothing at the craft market or at the farmer's market?
No, I'm a craft person in the farmer's market.
So the farmer's market itself has craft people in it?
Yes, yes, so.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's soap vendors, ceramics people, photographers, basket makers, jewelry, and of course I'm probably leaving something out. You can buy birdhouses, a lot of different things.
Okay.
And I should mention that baked goods, very popular at the market.
I'm getting hungry as you say that.
Well, yeah, yes. Yeah, we have a lot of great bakers.
That's
It,
true.
it's a good place. I will say that if you're coming for vegetables, getting there early is a good way to do it because depending on what's in season, it goes fast. If you're going for crafts, my craft friends and I say, well, our customers don't get up till 10 o'clock. So our busy time is at the end. A lot of the farmers have their busy time at the beginning of the market, and that works out fine.
Early on, when the vegetables are fresh. Yeah, because I'm sure farmers, you have to probably get up around 4 in the morning.
Oh.
It depends.
Yeah. Early.
So we have some people coming from, well, our radius is 70 miles, so they could come from 70 miles away, and in order to get set up and be there for 8 o'clock, they have to, there's a certain amount of getting
Pretty
up early.
But the craft people are a little more laid back, little more.
A little more, yes.
Yes. So do you find that business is pretty good? Is good exposure for you there?
Pretty good, yes.
Yeah, I'm sure maybe around holidays or Christmas and stuff, things sometimes pick up at certain times of the year better than.
For me, selling clothes actually, when it becomes t-shirt weather, late April, early May, that's really a good time for me.
Okay.
Back to school is another time.
Yeah.
And Christmas.
Yeah.
But you never know.
You never know. Yeah. But also what it's been implicit in a lot of things that we're talking about is that it's such a community building thing. It is a festive air when you go to a farmer's market. People are walking around. Usually they're smiling because it's just so enjoyable seeing all the colorful fruits and vegetables. Just the color, the good things to eat that you're looking at. It's just all appeals to all of our sensory enjoyment receptacles. It's just a fun thing to do. It's a lot more fun than cruising around in a supermarket aisle. You see friends, you see people smiling back at you. It's just a lovely, enjoyable thing to do. And
Well, there's a practical side to it too.
Okay.
There are all these farmers, just to talk about farmers for a moment.
Yeah.
But they're growing a lot of different things. They're growing a lot of the same things too, but a lot of different varieties. So there are hundreds of varieties of tomato, for example, and there are lots of eggplant. There's different types of greens. All across the gamut, and there's always a fair amount of them there. But if you want to know specifics about a particular type of green, you can speak directly to the people who grew it, the people who selected the seed, why they did, what its virtues are versus, why pick this versus something else. And they can tell you about the strengths that it has that, would lend to you. They'll tell you all about if you stand there and listen,
Yeah.
they will tell you maybe more than you want to know about it. You can't get that at the average grocery store.
No, and the average grocery store is so limited because the vegetables that they sell predominantly are ones that will pack well and travel long distances and that can hang out in a warehouse for a while and not rot before they get to you. So that they cannot have a wide variety of the varieties of a tomato. You can't get the purple Cherokee or the different kinds of tomato, the different kinds of cucumber, of greens that you can get in a farmer's market, nor the freshness.
When's the last time you've had a good tomato sandwich?
Only when you can get it from the farmer's market.
You can get them there, and they are ready, they're ripe, they, probably were picked that morning or the evening before.
Yeah.
Maybe it might have been a couple of days for some, but a lot of farmers wait until the last minute to make sure that the peak ripeness and then
Yeah.
the freshness. And so when you get it, you've got really like a work
You
of
got
art.
flavor, and you got
Mhm.
real flavor.
And it's something to celebrate. And that really is what life is about. I think that's what separates farmers markets from a lot of the supermarkets. The longer between the time that, a plant is harvested or produce is harvested and the time you have the opportunity to purchase it, there is a reduction in the nutritional value. And if that's what you're going for, then you definitely want to come to the farmer's market. If you want to know the backstory about, what the virtues of that particular plant or that produce is, you want to come to the farmer's market. If you want to support local communities and the people who are important, pillars in that community being stable and well fed, you want to come to the farmer's market. You don't want to go to a place where, you're wondering, like, how long was the truck ride? Does this vegetable have road rage? It's been riding so long. You want to come to a place where you can talk to the hands, the people whose hands touched and grew and nourished and encouraged and then harvested, now presenting to you food that you want to share with your family. I think that's a major difference.
Then we're also talking about then the economics, that when you're buying from local producers, local farmers, local craft people, that money stays in the community. When you're buying from department stores or big box stores, there's corporations that the profits go to. And so, we have a cooperative grocery store here, Weaver Street Market. I hope while you're in town you get a chance to go over.
Had some today.
Yeah, and see the beautiful, they've just done the front of it and just beautified it. It's just wonderful for sitting out under those. We're so blessed to have those huge, big, beautiful shady trees. So that money and the profits are with local people and local communities. And so there's just so many benefits to co-ops, to farmers markets, to craftspeople being able to find a reasonable place to be able to sell their goods and not have to be ripped off, so that they may not make a fortune, but whatever they do sell, they're gonna at least make, hopefully, a decent return on. And there's just so much. So we have about 10 more minutes. So where should we go from?
I'd like to give a shout out to some of the folks in Durham who made the market, kind of helped it to be what it is.
That would be great, and it reminds me to say the names again. So Bernard Obie and Mike Konvicka. Oh, I can't, Konvicka. Yeah. So Bernard is the organic farmer and so I think you have 32 acres that are under cultivation?
We have about 20 acres.
About 20 acres. And what crops do you grow?
We try to grow a full range of produce that people expect, but the thing that we're known for and the thing that we really sort of hang our hat on is greens.
Okay.
They are, the most nourishing sort of family of foods, and a lot of them have cold tolerance, so spring and fall. But because we're interested in the health and the strength of people, especially people under assault by all of the environmental toxins and the things in the air, the things in the water, the things in the food, the things in the rugs in our home, people need strong food to build strong blood to be able to endure, and that's why we focus on that.
So the greens you're talking about, like different lettuces, but also kale, collards?
Kale and collards, mustards, turnip greens. So we grow probably 5-6 different types of mustard, a couple of different types of collard greens. We grow 4 different types of kale, and so on. So we really try to focus on that and teach people about why it matters.
Do you have
we
family
do grow spinach.
working with you?
Yes, ma'am, we do.
You do?
That's a whole story in of itself.
Really?
But let me give a little shout out. Durham Farmers Market has friends in Durham, Durham Central Park, which is where it's located, have been so supportive and encouraging. the current mayor of Durham, Steve Schewel.
He's a good guy.
He's a friend of our market, and he's come down to our market. He sat and talked with us and helped us to, sort of strategize about how we can make things stronger, how we can have a stronger hand in, talking with some of the new people that are coming, the developers and so on. Past former mayor Bill Bell, members on the city council. Rafi has been a major supporter and friend. Burt's Bees has been an organization that's been there with us for a long time in such a positive way.
Can you mention what Rafi is? I knew, but I can't remember now.
Oh, see, I'm not going to be able.
Rural agriculture or something. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't tell you.
That's okay.
I'm sorry, I can't
Yeah,
say
it's
what
something
it is.
like
I
that.
apologize to Rafi too. I should know that by heart.
I should know it too. I've heard it enough times.
Anyway, you can look it up, RAFI, and
Yeah.
Please do. They're good folks doing
It's a
some good
supporter
work.
of good agriculture.
Yeah. In spite of the fact that I couldn't remember their name, they're doing some great work.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've got so much support across a broad spectrum in Durham. The market is an asset. It's looked at as an asset, I think, by all the folks who are really the thought leaders, the people who are in positions of authority, are supporting it and supporting the continuation of it. And we're grateful for that because it takes a whole community. And we're really appreciative for the support they've given over the years.
And I think that's what's made the farmers market here in Carrboro so successful too, has been the great support by the town's leaders and
Absolutely.
and different groups. And so, Mike, are there different craft groups that are like the Knitters League or the Vat Dyeing League or?
No. Yeah, I'm sorry. I wish I could.
No, I'm just teasing you away.
Yeah, it's a nice group.
Yeah.
And
It's all very individual.
But I'm afraid that is kind of the way it is.
Yeah.
There's not the equivalent of a locavore movement for craft people.
Yeah.
Not quite so much.
Yeah.
We do a good job, but we're not quite like that.
Yeah. When you're at the farmers market, do you do some demonstrations?
Not me, but other people do. And most of the demonstrations that we would have at our market are mostly food oriented.
Okay.
Like we have chefs come in, or some of we have stuff for the kids' classes. Also this summer we've had a couple of dance events which don't involve the vendors so much, but we had there was a group yoga event earlier this summer, and then we had folks from the American Dance Festival come and do a dance that took part in the market space, and it was really great. Well attended, as they say.
Yeah, all of that brings, sometimes people who don't normally come, it brings different groups of people
Sure.
to see it and come there. That's really wonderful. So, yeah, because I know sometimes with knitters, it seems to me there seems to be groups getting together and maybe in different places, so I thought maybe there was an official group, but I know that I've seen ads for that, at the library and stuff.
Right, it's just not at the Durham Farmers Market.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Sorry.
And I know at the Carrboro one, I know that they also collect, some of the farmers donate some of the, leftovers when the 12 o'clock comes. They also, that you can buy extra vegetables while you're there, and they collect them there. And so they're trying more and more. We have an interfaith council where people can go and get some big grocery bags of food once a month, and they're more and more trying to get more local fruits and vegetables in those bags, not just canned goods. So there's a real push.
We have the same kind of programs, yes.
Yeah.
Farmer food share is a big part of
Yeah.
also an organized effort too, to make sure that food is distributed in ways and places that it's needed.
Yeah.
And you know, I was talking earlier about folks, and I did not mention our market manager, Mary Yost, and our assistant manager, Charlotte Minguez, who have been fantastic. The reason we have all of those events that cross so many lines and bring so many people together is because of their energy and their willingness to go the extra mile to set up these events and then follow through and make sure that we have chefs, or make sure that we have an opportunity for a demonstration, cooking demo for the kids and so on like that. They have been fantastic. We're blessed to have good management, and they make it easy for us to just show up and set up and then relate to the community.
I think that's great to have some cooking demonstrations, because for some people, to use greens a lot may not be something that they grew up with. Although in the South a lot of people do, but some of us come from the North who did grow up using a lot of greens, sort of like things like collards. And so I think that's great to have some demonstrations periodically and show people some
Sure.
good recipes.
And you have to talk to a farmer, someone like me. Certainly not, I'm not the only one. There are better farmers than me at the Durham Farmers Market. Let me just go ahead and say that. But two gentlemen recently spent 4 years researching collard greens, and they say, yes, they say that collard greens are the second most nutritious green in the family of most nutritious foods, the dark green leafy vegetables, behind spinach. And I think they really sold collards short. But if you're not eating some good collards, you're selling your family short nutritionally. And I want to encourage you, as soon as the fall crop comes in, to go out there. Great for freezing, and some people can them and all of that, and they'll serve you well through these cold months. But come to the market, talk to the people who are there every week, the crafters, the bakers, the farmers, the folks who make all of the delicious drinks and sauces and so on and so forth. You can find something really magical to serve for your family or your loved ones, and you won't regret it. You'll have a great time while you're there too. Magical time.
And the fresh stuff like that, or special kinds of sauces, or the handmade T-shirts, all of that makes great gifts. You know, when you're trying to think of something, gift for a family member or a friend, that's always kind of special. That whether it's a basket of tomatoes, or whether it's a T-shirt, or whether it's a baked good, a hand-baked good.
We have a chocolatier at the market.
Oh, my
See, and
dear.
I forgot to mention that. That's a cardinal thing, because everybody can benefit from chocolate. And now the research is in, we know that dark chocolate at least is good for you, and all chocolate is good to you. So
It's all, well, yes, and it is good for you. Now, we know that. Okay, so if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, Bernard, I've got your card here. You go to, what is it?
Abanitu.organics.com.
Okay, here it is, organic, and then .com.
That's right.
Okay, and Mike, if somebody wanted to find out more about your...
They can find me through the Durham Farmers Market, durhamfarmersmarket.com.
Okay,
That would be
Terra Clotha.
Yes.
Yes, that's an Italian sort of name, Terra Clotha. It's a good
just
name.
kind of made up.
It's a made up, but it's a good name. Terra, the earth, clothing based on things from the earth. Yes. Okay, we've had Mike Konvicka and Bernard Obie, and we've been talking about the 20th celebration of the Durham Farmers Market. And as good as ours is, I think that some of us should get over to Durham and check that out. It sounds really wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.